Senator Menendez of New Jersey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for holding this hearing. And before I get to my questions, I want to note that I find it highly unusual that FEMA sent to Congress an unsolicited 17-section NFIP reauthorization bill that, in my view, will do significant harm both to the program and homeowners alike. Many of the ideas reflected in this proposal were part of a 2017 House Republican bill that was rejected by the Democratic majority. In fact, just last week, E&E News noted the similarities between this proposal and a proposal written by then OMB Director Mick Mulvaney during the Trump administration. FEMA's proposal will lead to more people being uninsured and unprotected against more frequent storms, higher costs for families, and higher barriers to owning a home and a small business. And so I would just say to the chair and the ranking member, there's already a bipartisan comprehensive NFIP reauthorization bill included and introduced in the Senate. The legislation that I've co-sponsored with Senator Kennedy and Van Hollen on this committee, along with 6 other senators, is supported by the National Association of Counties, the Flood Mitigation Industry Association, the International Association of Structural Movers, and others. And so I look forward to working with the chair and the ranking member on this. Now, according to a report by Redfin, 84% of majority Hispanic communities will face increases under Risk Rating 2.0, the highest share of increases compared to other racial and ethnic groups. Historically, Hispanic families have been underrepresented in home ownership, and I believe that Risk Rating 2.0 will only undermine recent gains. The average annual premium in majority Hispanic neighborhoods is $495. However, CBO has found that FEMA's new premium methodology may increase premiums by 4 to 7 times more. That could go from $495 to nearly $3,500. So in creating Risk Rating 2.0 equity in action, did FEMA consider whether the policy would disproportionately burden majority Hispanic communities?
So
I think that's a simple yes or no.
No.
It did not. Okay, why not? Why wouldn't
that's
FEMA
not
look at the impact across all communities and attempt to control for disproportionate burdens in any community?
So insurance rates are based on actuarial science, and the manner in which rates are calculated are based on the property characteristics, not the owner of the property.
Oh, so you mean we should make public policy here in such a broad-based area that wouldn't, well, we don't care what happens to Black or African American or minority communities? Is
No,
that what you're telling me?
that's not what I said.
Well, that's what you did, though.
That's not what I said at all.
I know, but that's what you did.
No.
I appreciate that FEMA supposedly supports an affordability program to help policyholders get covered. But in order to have an informed discussion around the issue of affordability, FEMA has to fully explain Risk Rating 2.0. Let me be clear, no one, except for FEMA, knows what the full risk premium rates are under Risk Rating 2.0. FEMA has only released limited information on what the first year premiums are with statutory caps applied. So, Mr. Marstead, will you provide to Congress the full risk rates of what you plan on charging our constituents?
Sure. So we've provided the information that we can provide based on what we know today. You can't predict what the rates are going to be 10 years from now. We know what the full risk rates are now, and they'll be shown on the insurance policies that people purchase, especially those that are on the glide path to their full risk rate.
Well, look, you're calling on Congress to authorize a new voucher program as part of your plan. But it's difficult to know how to tailor such a program if we don't know the premiums you're charging. And listen, you're talking about 10 years. You're telling me you're not going to know what the premiums are the year after? I don't believe that. Our legislation that was signed into law requires FEMA to report to this committee when premiums exceed a certain threshold. And it has not done so this year or in recent years. If FEMA cannot be more transparent with Congress, then it will be extremely challenging for us to address affordability. You have failed to address what the statutory obligations are. Now, one of the provisions FEMA proposes is the idea of continuous coverage, which would allow policyholders, and before I get to that, let me just say that from independent sources, we will see a compounding raising of premiums that will ultimately range in the double-digit range annually. Annually. Now, one of the provisions FEMA, and I'll close on this, Mr. Chairman, proposes is the idea of continuous coverage, which would allow policyholders to keep their NFIP discount if they leave the program to go to private flood insurance and want to later return to the NFIP. Do you know of any property and casualty company that offers continuous coverage?
Not that I'm aware of. But
and there's a
again,
reason for
as
that.
been pointed out, this is a government, multi-purpose government program, and that's been indicated to us that that will allow for greater private sector development,
I don't
which
know
has the potential to assist FEMA in closing the insurance gap.
I don't know who is the private entities that told you that, but I have never heard of any insurance company offering continuous coverage if policyholders want to leave their insurance policies for competitors. If we offer continuous coverage, what we're setting up is the program to be cherry-picked, and we'll lose policies that help balance out the program. Insurance is about pooling risk over the widest group of policyholders. And I'm deeply concerned that what you're proposing, both in the rate shock that will take place for policyholders, which means that people will forego, if they don't have a mortgage obligation to have flood insurance, they will forego. Your own entity says that 20% of the policyholders will drop coverage. Well, that reduces the universe by 20%. The smaller the universe, the higher the rates. That's going to create another cascading effect at the end of the day. But then to say continuous coverage so that people who are less likely to face the consequences of a claim will go to private insurance, but then you'll leave all of the properties that have a challenge in the National Flood Insurance Program, and that will only create a compounding effort, consequence. So I have real serious concerns, and I would just say to the Chair and Ranking Member, the last time we went through something similar, there was such rate shock that both Democrat and Republicans responded to it. And I hope we don't have to wait for the rate shock, Mr. Chairman, to try to solve the problem.
Thanks, Senator Menendez.